There is a term that we use in technology, and that term is disruption. Disruption. The next presenter is going to tell you exactly how the world around us is really being disrupted by technologies which you know, which you don't know. अगर आप वो सेशन आएंगे तो आपको ऐसी चीजें समझ में आएंगी, देखने में आएंगी जो आपने पहले नहीं सुनी होंगी. Without much wait, I would like to call upon the beautiful Jigna. Please join me in welcoming her on the stage.
Thank you, Sanjeev, so much. So, I welcome all of you to the Elite Club Conclave. And I really want to thank all of you from the entire family of research and ranking for coming, for traveling all the way to being a part of this first-of-a-kind initiative. Now, this is not just a time we are meeting and greeting each other. This is the time, the moment we are spending together to catch new trends, analyze them, but most importantly, design an action plan now for tomorrow. So yes, I once again welcome you, and I welcome you to the time of digital disruption, to the time of technological disruption, which is the theme for this event. The trend of today, but the era of tomorrow. People, we are living in times of rapid disruption. This is the time we are witnessing history's most possible, or I would say most rapid opportunities, ambitions, disruptions. So this is not the time to preserve. This is not the time to think. This is not the time to procrastinate. In fact, this is the time to seize the maximum opportunities which we have in front of us. This is the time for action. So yes, I once again welcome you to the changing time where you can either disrupt or get disrupted. So disruption is coming faster. It has been there before as well, but it's coming at a much rapid rate now. So while I'm talking to you, I'm sure that there are many other innovative technologies which have been discussed, which are in the experimental stage, which can be the trend of tomorrow and set the podium of the growth for tomorrow. Let me tell you one interesting fact that 52% of companies from the Fortune 500 list since 2000 have vanished. Now what this means? That this means that there would be another companies which would take the spot of these companies. There would be few other companies which are again going to get disrupted. So a few days back, let me tell you one interesting interview which I was seeing of Mr. John Chambers. He is the ex-CEO of Cisco and the current chairman. So while he was interviewing, CNBC was interviewing Mr. John Chambers, they asked him, what do you think is the impact of disruption? And he revealed a very interesting observation. He said that 40% of the companies will not exist in a very meaningful way within the next 2 decades. Now what this means? This means that the companies would need to continuously reinvent themselves to integrate digitization into the fabric of their business strategy. This means that the companies need to act now. So when we're talking about disruption, we're talking about technologies. Let me just go through a few of the emerging technologies which we experience in our day-to-day life. Okay, so a quick action. How many of you in the last 6 months have visited bank branches, maybe to open FD account or maybe to write a check? How many of you in the last 6 months? Okay, so in the last 6 months, how many of you have used your mobile application to do the payment transactions? We have the answer over here. Yes? So bank branches have been replaced by online payments or mobile applications. Traditional lending has now been replaced by peer-to-peer lending. So I am no longer saying that I will pay you or I will write a check for you. Now I'm saying I'll Paytm you. So this is the impact of Paytm on the payment and transaction. But what if Paytm enters into lending industry? Imagine the impact it will have on banks. And I think banks need to adapt themselves to this changing technology. So few other sectors which will look the impact of disruption is education. So I have always been a believer in the institution of brick and mortar institutes. But if I see the 20-year-old now, they are not going to the brick and mortar institutes. They are now getting used to computer-aided learning programs. And that is a very interesting pedagogy plan which I want to mention over here, that is flipped learning. So over the flipped learning, this is a combination of virtual classroom. So what they do is, in the flipped learning, you already get the curriculum set. So what the candidates or the students have to do is run through it through e-learning programs or computer-aided learning programs. And there's a virtual or a video con call with the top instructors, or I would say the top leaders of the industry. And then there is an assessment done later on. It's wonderful. You're able to meet the leaders. You're able to meet the leading industry mavens without actually getting out of your place. This is the opportunity which I didn't have. I wish I had. But that is the impact of technology in the education industry. Textbooks have now been replaced by paperless textbooks. So in my free time, sometimes I teach kids. And there was this one kid who is in 4th standard. She's saying, okay, so I told her once that, why don't you bring your textbook? Let me teach you once. She's like, no, ma'am. Who is using textbooks? In our schools, we have paperless textbooks. We have iPad. We have tablets. We no longer use textbooks. That is the impact of education, technology in the education industry. Travel, transport. How many of you traveled by Uber or Ola today? Okay, I think mostly 40% of the crowd over here. I myself travel by Uber. So I no longer say now, I want to book a taxi. I say I want to book a Uber or an Ola. So this is as similar. And so normally what we say, we want to do Xerox. But actually the term is photocopy. But Xerox had so much impact on that photocopy that it has become a synonym. So same, Paytm has become a synonym for payments. Uber has become a synonym for taxi. And there are many other technologies which will become a synonym of the trend. How to read maps, which I was taught in schools. I used to hate geography. I was being forced to understand how to read maps, but that knowledge is of no use now because I have GPS. And in future, I'm going to have VPS. Vehicles have been now, so Mr. Narendra Modi, our Prime Minister, has envisioned India, the electrification of India by 2030, which means there would be no internal combustion engines on the roads. Airbnb has actually revolutionized the whole hotel industry. Let me show you a quick glimpse of the VPS. So now, normally what you see in GPS, this is how, I think in the next 5 years or 10 years, maybe the VPS will look like, which means you no longer need to remember the roads. You no longer need to remember the landmarks. All you have to do is sit, and they will guide you towards your destination. And there are many other technologies coming up in the travel industry, which will make your journey very easy. Health. Okay. A quick question. How many of you last went to doctors just to get a BP check done or a pulse rate check done? Anyone? No. With the wearables, you can actually track your blood pressure. You can actually track your pulse rate. You can track even when you're going to get a heart attack. So it's no longer transforming the way we manage our health. It's actually helping us to take precautionary measures for tomorrow, which doctors are not able to do. So if you go to a doctor, they will tell, okay, your BP is low, your BP is high. But wearables will tell you the trend. And that's the impact of technology. Again, we have one more upcoming trend, which is remote surgery, where you can get access to the best doctors who are situated miles away, and with the aid of robot, you can get the surgery done. Media and e-commerce. Okay. So my day starts not by newspapers these days. It starts by reading social media platforms, going to Twitter, to stay in tune with what is happening in the industry. Okay, a quick question. What comes to you when I say Amazon? Anyone wants to give it a try? A first word which comes to you when I say Amazon. Sorry? E-commerce. Okay, so sir, I would like to correct. Amazon has actually become an ecosystem. It has become an ecosystem and it is trying to penetrate your daily lives. That's the impact of Amazon. I no longer say that Amazon is an e-commerce player. I would say it has actually been an ecosystem now. That's the impact. Netflix, Amazon Prime, they have actually revolutionized the whole video streaming services. Now we are seeing a lot of augmented reality and voice input with the Alexa from Amazon or maybe Siri. I think we no longer need keyboards to type and to get our answers. There are many trends which are happening. Chatbots, the phone conversations have now been replaced by chatbots. We are no longer talking about just data. We are talking about interpreting big data. The traditional database has now been replaced by cloud computing, such as maybe Dropbox. Assistants have been replaced by virtual assistants. And a lot of trends, a lot of buzzwords like AI, machine learning, cloud computing, Internet of Things are going to set the podium for tomorrow. Now, these are just a few of the examples which I have showed you. So now there's been one interesting story, I would say one hilarious story, which I want to share with all of you. So I have one of my friend. He's married to a teacher. Now she's so obsessed with becoming a teacher that she even makes my friend write 100 times if he commits mistake. And recently, he came to me, so once we met recently 2 days back, he told me that how he forgot his wife's birthday. Now forgetting wife's birthday can be the gravest mistake you can perform on earth. So yes, so after hectic schedule, when we reached home, his wife told him to write, "I will never ever forget you" 100 times on the chalkboard. And he was telling me, "Jigna, yaar, 100 times likhna pada, yaar. Kitna tiring tha." I was like, "Sanket, why you had to write 100 times? Ek baar likh ke copy paste kar do." And what he replied? "I know you have been typing whole day. Forget chalkboard. I don't think even you have written on a page. So, but for information, Control-C, Control-V doesn't work on chalkboard." So that's the impact. Now, this is not the technology, but I'm saying one small feature of technology has reached my subconscious mind that I forgot that chalkboard mein to ye kuch nahi hota hai. So yes, there are many other stories which while we are talking about these stories, while we are talking about these incidents, that how technology has penetrated in our daily lives, it has reached the subconscious level, it's worth mentioning few of the players which were actually the trend of yesterday, but no longer are in use now. So let's quickly look at Blockbuster. It is a video rental service. BlackBerry, we all know. Yahoo, Nokia, Kodak, Mozart. So Yahoo was purchased at just a fraction of its peak value. What went wrong? It adopted to the cloud computing services. Same happened with Kodak. Same happened with Nokia. In fact, these people were the pioneers of the technology which actually disrupted them. So now I won't go what went wrong, but I would like to show you what was common for all of these companies. They had actually the best people working for them, the best Harvard graduates. They had long-standing relationships with their client. They had a strong brand recall. Even now, that's the reason I'm talking to you. But still, they no longer hold the same dominance. Why? So how these companies got disrupted? Firstly, a very quick, very simple, a new technology or a trend came into play. Acha, to Nokia soch raha hoga, okay, let's wait and watch. Let's see how it goes. Let's see whether it was viable or not. Slowly, that new technology or trend starts building their niche, and they still are not able to adapt to this technology. Finally, there's a punch or there's a fight between the incubators versus the incumbents. And because the incubators have a unique advantage of technology, the incumbents could not survive, even if they were in the industry for the last 100 years. So it doesn't matter how much of experience you have. It doesn't matter where you get funds from. It doesn't matter even if you pump in $100 million every year. What matters is how you're going to adapt to the change. So now talking about all these emerging technologies, it's quite clear that in the next few decades, there are only going to be two players. One, who will be the leaders of the technology, and second, who will be the early adopters or the value adders of the technology. Now let me give you a quick example of both of these categories. The leaders: Amazon, Google, Uber, Snapchat, Paytm, Apple. So these people have actually introduced this technology way back. So for example, Google launched Android in the year 2005. Apple maybe launched iOS in the year 2009. The same Amazon launched AWS in the year 2006, 2007. Same Paytm in the last 2-3 years, they have disrupted the whole industry. We never thought actually India could use Paytm or something like this to do their day-to-day transactions. Same Snapchat. It's so easy now to click a picture and share it with your friends. So these are the leaders. Let's look at few of the adopters. Facebook, Microsoft. It's quite shocking actually to see Facebook and Microsoft over here, but I'll tell you why I tell them as adopters and not leaders. So Facebook was facing a mid-crisis in the year 2010, where actually it was not able to adapt to the cloud computing service. So what it did, it actually tried to penetrate the mobile era. It actually acquired WhatsApp and Instagram at an insane amount, which gave them the dominance in the mobile era. And as Sanjeev rightly said that, now WhatsApp is one of the leading players. I mean, I would say it's helping them a lot, much more than what they imagined. Microsoft. Same Microsoft actually failed in the mobile operating system. But with their range of offerings in the cloud, say with Azure or OneDrive, Microsoft was able to sustain itself and flourish. And that's why I call them early adopters and not leaders. Okay, after talking about so many technologies, how we are going to identify technology or distinguish technology from the fashion? कैसे पता चलेगा? अरे यार ये तो 2 साल का trend है कि यही this is going to penetrate our daily lives and it's sustainable trend. So let's look at the 3 stages which the technology go. One is the innovation trigger. किसी को पता है कि Uber is planning to actually come up with the aerial car service? How many of you know that? Perfect. Okay. How many of you know that a lot of experiments is done for the driverless cars? Tesla is doing it. Cool. Okay. Same is flying cars. How many of you know that Elon Musk has set the vision of intercontinental space shuttle? Yeah. So these are the innovation triggers. It's like a small gossip in the office where actually everyone is talking about it, everyone is whispering about it, but no one knows the viability about it. So they are into experimental stage. We don't know whether they will be viable or not, but yeah, that's the innovation trigger. It is gaining a lot of media publicity. Then there is inflated expectations. Say for example, there are a lot of successful experiments we now have about driverless cars. So now we are actually imagining India with actually a driverless car or maybe cars that can start itself, warm up the engine, so all when you do is go into the car, you are all set when you hit the wheel. These are the inflated expectations. Last stage is the plateau of productivity. This is electric vehicles, where you know that the trend is very much viable, is very much sustainable. You know the advantage, you know the cons, and you are set. Okay, there are so many technologies. Actually, it's a kind of a summary slide where what I have done is the 3 stages which I just mentioned, the innovation triggers, the inflated expectations, the plateau of productivity, and I've tried to map in all the technologies which I just mentioned. So for example, now it was very actually difficult for me to fit on all of that, but I tried my best. So the yellow, if you see the triangles, these are the technologies which are actually the innovation triggers. There are buzzwords going about it. It is capturing a lot of media publicity, but it's maybe going to take more than 10 years to actually settle down. If you see the circled one, the blue circle one, the dark ones, they are the trends which you're gonna expect 5 to 10 years. And again, they are mapped within the various stages of where they fall in. The same 2 to 5 years. So one such trend for 2 to 5 years would be deep neural network ACs, virtual assistants, where you will see them settling down or becoming a trend in the next 2 to 5 years. The less than 2 years, again, we have in the gray. Do businesses have a choice? Now, this is actually my favorite concept after the entire presentation because it actually summarizes my whole presentation beautifully. In the third industrial revolution, technology and business अपना काम करते थे. You do your work, you operate your own business model, I will do my own work. So actually, The business strategist and the technology people were two different people sitting on different floors. Slowly and gradually, they started merging, they started converging. And then technology became a leading part of the business and it became a differentiator of the business. And lastly, as we said in the coming days, technology will become the core of any business model and data will become the new oil of the business. That's the trend. So yes, I welcome all of you from 3.0 to Industry 4.0, which is the current buzzword. Thank you. Okay, we are living in the fast-changing environment. We all know that. I said a lot of times. But what we are actually going to do? Are there any action points for us? There are only two ways. I think not for only technology, but for anything, any problem in life. Either you wait and watch, or yaar dekha jayega kind of thing, or you take an action. You try to correct it. So what we are gonna do? The question is for you. Maybe you can think about the answer. As I said, the choice is yours. We are experiencing the change. The change is there in front of us. I'm not asking the question whether the opportunities are there for you or not. My question for all of you is, are you all set to leverage on these opportunities? So yes, depending on what you want to do, this is the era where you can say there are epic opportunities, or this is the time of tragic risk. Time to reimagine your investing style. Okay, so this is now slides which starts for all of you as an investor, what you are going to do about it, and why you should be worried about technological disruption, why you can't take it lightly. It's time to actually reassess the companies in your portfolio, or I would say the companies which you own. Are they going to enter the league of a unicorn? Or are they going to mark their names in the dust-laden books of the bygones? How we are going to do that? How we are going to check? Welcome to the role of research and ranking to identify disruptors of tomorrow. Okay. Identifying disruptors, the R&R advantage, what advantage you have. So now we all know that we all conduct sectoral landscape, where you study the industry, where you studied what's happening in industry, the growth potential of the industry vis-a-vis the company which you own. The financial statements, you actually run through P&L, you run through balance sheet, you run through cash flows, you go through annual reports, you go through management discussion analysis, and other various sections in the annual reports. Then there are a lot of management interactions where you understand the vision which they have for the company and what plans they have to achieve that vision for the company. And then finally, you assess the growth potential of the company to grow in the next few years. Yes, this is there. But why we are different? R&R, along with all of this, we actually tried to understand, first of all, the purpose of a company, why the company exists in the first place. What is the purpose and what it's trying to achieve? And what are the plans it has to achieve that purpose? We try to look for the symbols of change. We try to look what is happening in the industry. Is the company having adequate capabilities to actually adapt to those changes in the industry? So finally, we look whether they're going to be forerunners in technology. So if there is any technology which I think is affecting the automobile industry, which I think is affecting the healthcare industry, whether the companies which we are including in our portfolio or which we are recommending to you, are they having the plans, are they having enough resources to become the forerunners in technology, or are they having enough resources to adapt to this technology? Assess the sustainability. As I said, it's not just important to adapt any technology. The technology has to be sustainable. We are not looking at the trends. We are not looking at the fashion. We are looking at the sustainable. And also we always keep on saying that always our vision is going to be long-term. So be it technology, be it growth. Lastly, the leadership qualities. Now I want to ask you a quick question. If there are two candidates in front of you, you are a recruiter. Candidate A has 10 years of experience, and candidate B has, say, 2-3 years of experience, but he has many patents or copyrights attached to his name. Which candidate you are going to recruit? Can any of you tell me? Okay. And how many of you will recruit the candidate A? Okay. Now this is very subjective. I hope my answer doesn't offend everyone, so I'm sorry. But yes, it doesn't actually matter now how many years of experience you have. What is going to matter is your ability to take proactive measures. Actually, the more experience you have, and if you're not willing to change to changing technology, which means you're an expert of a past, you're not the expert of tomorrow. But if you have an experience and you are able to adapt to the technology, then yes, that can be an asset. But if not, that can be a liability. And we actually look out for parameters over here, because the leadership qualities of yesteryears is not going to work tomorrow. So this is the new age investing which we follow. I already covered a bit of it, but yes, we look at integration of quantitative data with the human judgment. We not only say we try to bring to you the best of both the worlds, we are actually doing to bring to you the best of both the worlds, which is the quantitative data compiled with the human intelligence. So quantitative data, data-driven tools, a lot of statistics model where we try to assess the beta and everything, the balance sheet analysis, P&L analysis, cash flows, understanding the growth, and I would say the various other parameters which goes into. This is not just a comprehensive list. But yes, what I'm going to stress is, as I said, new leadership qualities. Is the company able to adapt to the technology, innovation? What are the risk management procedures which the company is going to take? Lastly, the corporate governance measures. With this, I would like to say that the science of today is the technology of tomorrow. The first step is to establish that something is possible, then probability will occur. But yes, ideas without action are useless. And now is the time for action. Fine, thank you so much.